Tao looks like the kind of place travelers dream about. Small Thai island is surrounded by turquoise water, colorful coral reefs and white sand beaches. Backpackers, scuba divers and tourists from around the world have long been drawn to its tropical scenery, inexpensive accommodations and famously lively nightlife. For many visitors, Koh Tao is supposed to be a place of freedom, adventure and escape. For more than a decade, the island has also carried a far darker reputation. A series of murders, unexplained deaths and disappearances involving foreign visitors has led to Koh Tao being labeled by some media outlets and travelers as Death Island or Murder Island. The nickname is controversial, and it should not be taken to mean that every death on the island was a homicide or that Koh Tao is uniquely dangerous compared with every other tourist destination. Authorities have ruled different cases as murder, drowning, suicide, accidents or natural causes, while families in several cases have publicly questioned those conclusions. Still, the accumulation of tragedies has created a disturbing narrative that continues to follow this otherwise idyllic island. Murders that changed Koh Tao forever. The event most closely associated with Koh Tao's dark international reputation occurred in September 2014. Backpackers Hannah Witheridge, 23, and David Miller, 24, were found dead near Sir Beach after a night out on the island. Killings shocked Britain, Thailand, and the international backpacking community. Witheridge had been sexually assaulted, and both victims suffered devastating injuries in an attack that immediately became one of Thailand's most notorious crimes involving foreign tourists. The investigation that followed was intensely scrutinized. Burmese migrant workers Zorlin and Waifao were eventually convicted of the murders. The case attracted international controversy, with questions raised about the investigation and allegations concerning how confessions were obtained. Men were originally sentenced to death, but their sentences were later commuted to life imprisonment. Both have continued to maintain their innocence. The case transformed the way many people viewed Koh Tao. For the murders, the island was primarily associated with diving schools, beach parties, and inexpensive Southeast Asian travel. Afterward, photographs of crime scenes and headlines about the investigation spread around the world. Questions about police procedures, tourism, local influence, and the treatment of migrant workers became part of the international conversation. Brutal deaths of Witheridge and Miller became the foundation of the island's Death Island image. A growing list of deaths and disappearances. What made the reputation even more difficult to shake was the fact that the 2014 murders were followed, or in some cases accompanied, by other traveling incidents involving foreign visitors. It was tourist Hans-Peter Suter disappeared after going snorkeling in November 2014. His body was later recovered, and authorities concluded that he had drowned. Members of his family reportedly questioned aspects of the circumstances surrounding his death. Just weeks later, British tourist Nick Pearson was found dead in the water. Authorities concluded that he had fallen and drowned, but his family expressed doubts and continued seeking answers about how he died. Early 2015, British backpacker Christina Annesley died while traveling through Southeast Asia. Death was initially linked to an accidental overdose or a possible interaction involving medication and alcohol, but her family raised questions about the investigation and the medical evidence. French visitor Dimitri Povs was also found dead on the island, with authorities ruling his death a suicide. Questions were later raised by friends and observers about details surrounding the discovery of his body. Russian tourist Valentina Novzhinova disappeared after traveling to Koh Tao in 2015. Personal belongings, including important documents, were reportedly left behind. Her disappearance remains one of the most mysterious cases associated with the island. Foreign deaths and disappearances over the years added to the growing perception that Koh Tao had developed an unusually sinister pattern. It is important to distinguish between allegations and established facts. A collection of tragic cases does not prove that they were connected, and authorities have not established a single criminal conspiracy behind them. While families have continued to ask questions, one reason the Koh Tao stories have endured is that several families have openly challenged official findings. In some cases, relatives argued that witnesses were not adequately questioned. In others, families questioned autopsy findings or complained about delays in receiving information and reports. These concerns helped create a wider public perception that investigations involving foreign tourists were not always transparent enough. The death of Belgian backpacker Elise Delmagny in 2017 became another internationally discussed case. The body was found on Koh Tao, and authorities initially ruled her death a suicide. Family questioned that conclusion, leading to renewed attention and further discussion of the case. A national Bernd Grutsch also died on the island, under circumstances his family reportedly found difficult to accept. Authorities offered explanations for his death, while relatives publicly expressed doubts and sought additional information. A recurring pattern was not necessarily that every case was proven to be criminal. Rather, it was that several families felt they had been left without sufficiently convincing answers. That distinction is critical. Suspicious death is not automatically a murder. Disputed investigation is not automatically evidence of cover-up. Unresolved questions can have a powerful effect, especially when multiple cases occur in the same small and internationally famous tourist destination. With ice and fear existing side by side, one of the strangest aspects of Koh Tao's reputation is that life on the island has continued. Tourists still arrive to dive, snorkel and explore the beaches. Businesses continue operating. Having remained central to the local economy, and many visitors complete their trips without experiencing any serious crime. That creates a remarkable contrast. In one part of the world, Koh Tao is advertised as a tropical paradise. Another, its name immediately brings to mind stories of murdered backpackers, missing tourists and disputed investigations. A major report examining the island after the 2014 murders described this contradiction clearly. Visitors and business owners continue to portray Koh Tao as a beautiful and generally safe destination, even while fear and rumors about powerful local interests circulate in the background. The reality of travel is that tropical destinations can contain risks that postcards never show. Cold swimming after dark, motorbike accidents, isolated beaches, diving incidents and unfamiliar terrain can all create danger. Small islands can also make it difficult for visitors to know whom to trust or where to seek help. That does not make Koh Tao a lawless island. The tragedies associated with its name demonstrate why travelers should never assume that paradise is automatically safe. The power of the Death Island, labeled the nickname itself, has become part of the story. Death Island is emotionally powerful. It suggests a place where visitors are hunted and danger is everywhere. Yet the label is a media-driven characterization rather than an official designation, and applying it broadly risks oversimplifying complex and unrelated cases. And with the deaths associated with Koh Tao have been officially ruled accidents, suicides, drownings, or natural deaths. that remain controversial in the eyes of relatives or members of the public. 2014 murders of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller, however, were indisputably horrific crimes. Problem is that once a destination receives a reputation like this, every subsequent tragedy becomes part of the same larger legend. Drowning may become viewed through the lens of murder. Suicide may become viewed as suspicious. Unexplained death may generate theories of corruption or conspiracy. An unresolved disappearance may become permanently linked to every tragedy that came before it. This is how a location becomes mythologized. Koh Tao's story is therefore not simply a crime story. It is also a story about fear, international media attention, grieving families, and the long shadow cast by one horrific event. Warning for travelers: for anyone traveling to Koh Tao or any remote tourist destination, the lesson is not necessarily to avoid travel. It is to travel intelligently. Visitors should avoid isolated areas when possible, particularly late at night. Should be cautious about excessive alcohol consumption and swimming after drinking. Should use reputable diving schools and tour operators, keep friends informed about their plans, and avoid leaving with strangers for remote locations. Fellow travelers should also think carefully about transportation and excursions. For booking a private guide or tour, checking reviews, verifying the business, and sharing the itinerary with another person can provide an additional layer of safety. Travel insurance, emergency contacts, and digital copies of important documents should also be part of every international travel plan. Most importantly, travelers should understand that a beautiful destination can still present real risks. Image of tropical beach can create a false sense of security. Visitors may behave in ways they never would at home, trusting strangers more quickly, walking alone in unfamiliar areas, or taking unnecessary risks around water and alcohol. Koh Tao cases are a reminder that vacation does not suspend reality. Legacy that remains more than a decade after the murders of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller, Koh Tao remains a place divided between two identities. There is the Koh Tao of turquoise water, dying instructors, backpacker hostels, and spectacular sunsets. There is the Koh Tao remembered through headlines, documentaries, grieving families, and unanswered questions. The families of victims and missing people, the story is deeply personal. It is not about a nickname or a travel warning. It is about people who went abroad and never came home. It is ultimately why the Death Island label has proved so difficult to erase. The phrase may be sensational, but it reflects the emotional impact of a series of tragedies that captured international attention. Facts of each case are different, and they should be judged individually, and resulted in criminal convictions. Those were officially ruled accidental, suicidal, or natural, and remain disputed by relatives. What cannot be disputed is the lasting effect. Koh Tao's natural beauty remains undeniable. So does the history of tragedy attached to its name. For many travelers, it will always be a paradise island. For others, it will forever be remembered as the place where two young backpackers were murdered on a beach, and where a series of later deaths and disappearances ensured that the questions surrounding the island would never completely disappear.
Adventure starts with the right gear, and it all starts at shackshop.us. From stylish women's swimsuits and premium camping tents to paddleboards, underwater drones, and dependable dinghies, we have everything you need for your next outdoor adventure. Whether you're exploring the water or relaxing on shore, gear up with quality products at unbeatable prices. Visit shackshop.us today and make every adventure